our guest tonight. I'm excited to bring on Frank. Have you ever met Tierre? Did you know who he was?
I've not not met him personally, no.
I remember when I got back from that trip and I told you, I was like, man, I met a guy there and he was a government employee making 150 grand a year, was offered he was offered to take on this higher position in DC, and he didn't want to go. And he ended up leaving the government job.
Mm.
I bet there's a bunch of people that you would talk to that right now would quit to go out and make 150 grand a year, guaranteed, government, working for all the benefits that the government gives you. And
Hmm.
here we got a guy who had all of that and then walked away from it, just left.
Crazy.
Well, sorry to Michael and Jamie or Frank to hop in, but 150 grand after tax is like 8,200 a
You
month.
can't. I know that's why you left. But I'm saying there's plenty of people that want to take that government job. The other thing, which is very impressive, is we have people all the time that make it, don't make it. But it's crazy when people are succeeding at the highest level and then they tell me how they can't be profitable in our business. But if your numbers at a certain point and you're not profitable, it just comes down to running a business and knowing how to manage your expenses. And someone like Tierre was in Europe for 3 months. 3 months. How many people would love to be in Europe? He was in Europe at this job and working and selling over the phone and did $106,000 in, was it May or June, Tierre?
It was 106 July, I think.
July, while this guy is working in Europe. So when you talk about what this business affords people to be able to do and what you can do with this opportunity, I mean, when I heard him say that, I was just blown away. I'm like, wow. And on top of it, not only that, he came here and he's door knocking, right? Most people won't even, we all love telesales. Telesales are great. But here's a guy that leaves a government job and he's jumping over fences, which I think is crazy because Tierre is no small guy. He's jumping over fences and go knock on doors. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, how do you do these things? I was like, we got to get you on a call to talk about what it takes to be able to do that. Because there's a lot of people that would like to leave their full-time job and get involved with insurance. And you obviously were able to do it and have a lot of success with it. And now you're growing a team. So, Tierre, welcome to the call, man. I appreciate you coming on. If you can kind of just start off and share a little bit of your story and what brought you to FFL and how how you were able to transition from a government job to come here and work like everyone should be doing and having success here.
Yeah, man, it's actually real simple story, and I won't make it too long-winded, but first off, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it for sure. Yeah, I was working for Department of State for about 16 years, and I got offered a SES position, which is like double up, basically. I probably would have gone from 150 to 250, but still been on a schedule asking people for vacation time, not being able to take more than 2 weeks off. Never was I ever able to travel anywhere for more than a week or two at a time because of the responsibility of the job too. But yeah, it was like in May of 2020, I got offered that role and I live in Miami. My office was going to be in DC. And I kind of had to make a decision first. How am I going to convince my wife and kids where we set up paradise in Miami that now we have to leave to go live in, that area, which I wasn't fond of when I left
What did
it.
she say about you turning down 250,000 a year job? Was she scared or did she say anything about it?
Uh, what's your plan? How long do you need to figure it out?
I love it,
And
man.
can we live remotely? Like if worst comes to worst, you live in DC and fly back because we're not leaving.
Oh,
So I
snap.
s- I said I have, that was
Mm.
like in May. So between May and July, I took a leave of absence from my job in May. And May, this is the first time I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's my next move? Am I gonna open up a business? Well, my wife threw at me like, hey, let's open a bakery. And I say this jokingly, but it's real. It's like I was like, how am I going to open a bakery? Like, I'm not going to pay commercial space to burn it down when I don't even know how to really use the oven in my own house. My kids use it. I'm not going to pay commercial space to do that. So that wasn't going to be a thing. But I literally in the middle of May, I went down this rabbit hole of a YouTube search. I went down financial, like being my own boss. How do I open up a business? Then it took me to financial services. Then it took me to insurance. Then I found a link to go take an Excel course. So I paid my credit card, got the Excel course, took the course. I told my wife, hey, I think I could do this financial services thing. I'm going to figure it out. It only cost me like $180 or something like that. Drop in the bucket. We'll figure it out. And I did my online schooling by myself at night. Basically, I'm a night owl anyway, so it worked out better at night. During the daytime, honestly, I was fishing. I was at the beach. This is the first time I didn't have to do anything. So I was enjoying that daytime, but at night I was studying. And then I went and took my exam, passed. Then I said, okay, now I got this license. Now my phone started exploding with phone calls. I got called by I don't know how many FFL brands, companies, didn't know who they were. But I had a buddy of mine who worked in health, and he said, hey, come here and I'll help you get started. I was there with him for about 2 weeks in the health space and realized I wanted to pull my eyes out. There's no way in the world I want to do this every single day. So I left there. Then I called back these people that kept, from FFL that kept blowing my phone up. It was FFL Universe. I don't know who you are. FFL Tri-State. I don't know who you are. But what I did get from them was I got the name of the person that sold the most insurance in
The number
FFL.
one agent at FFL.
I said, FFL Universe person, who sells the most insurance? Do you sell it? No. Okay, I can't help you. FFL Tri-State person, who's the person that sells the most insurance? And they were like, oh, it's Steve Giordano. I said, perfect. Click. I hung up. I got on Facebook. I messaged Steve and I said, hey, I got my license. How do you sell insurance? How do you do this? And he was like, come to my office. This was like on a Sunday night. He said, come to my office on a Monday morning to Pompano from Miami, from my house to Pompano Beach. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. He said, get there by 7 o'clock. I was there at 6:45. He says, all right, let's start. You're not contracted with anybody? Nope. We went through everything. And my mindset on that was very simple. If this guy sold 1 million and I sold a quarter of that, not knowing anything about sales, not knowing anything about this industry, wouldn't I still be better off than my W-2 job?
Damn right.
Absolutely.
So that's really been the focus. So yeah, the first year I was in the field. I did 100% final expense in the field, and Steve told me to do whatever to sell, and I was focused on doing whatever I needed to do to sell, have a bunch of appointments. I was really not good at dialing. I still don't think I'm that great at dialing, like handling rebuttals and stuff, but I have a different lead flow, so I don't have to really fight too much. But in the beginning, I would always dial Saturdays and Sundays to run Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays to run in the field on Tuesdays. I would need like 2.5, almost 3 days of dialing to get a stacked day, where I would see other people dialing because of maybe their lead flow. They would get a bunch of appointments on a 2-day run. I only had a 1-day run. So Tuesdays was my 10 appointment day in the field. I was gone from the house 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, probably for a year and a half. And
Wow.
I did the exact same thing what FFL told us in the beginning was make sure you have a conversation with your family. Tell your wife, tell your kids, you're not going to be home. You're going to miss a lot of stuff. So at the time, I sat down with my 6 and 8-year-old at the time. They're now 11 and 13. But I sat down with 2 little girls in front of me. I said, hey, I'm not going to be able to take you to ballet anymore. I can't take you to soccer. I can't take you to all your activities because I'm trying to change our life, right? Little girls in tears, crying. Because at my government job, I was done at 3 every day for like the last decade. I mean, I was done at 3 o'clock every day. Um, but yeah, I sat down with them, had that conversation, had my, conversation with my wife as well too. Like, hey, I need you to support me on this. If you can put it in perspective, I need to sell like 8 policies a month to do the same as my government job. And she was like, 8 in a whole month? And I was like, yeah. I was like, even if I work 100 hours, who cares? It's the same money. So I
Mhm.
did the field for about a year. I was pretty successful. You know, no Hall of Fame, nothing like that. I still haven't hit Hall of Fame in 4 years that I've been here, but I've been profitable every single year. Um, when I was working the field specifically, I would have 10 appointments a day, only on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. My goal was not to sell them all. I probably walked away from a lot. I was only keeping the ones that really wanted to get it. And because I wasn't good at rebuttals and pushing people into something they didn't want, I would just, you don't want it? No problem. I pack up my bag and I walk out because I knew my calendar was full of people that maybe wanted it more. So that was my whole focus. So I remember there's many days like I called Steve and I was like, yo, I went 2 for 10 today. I'm psyched. And he was like, bro, that's a terrible day. And I was like, no, bro, I got one.
Steve would say that
I was like,
for, for
I
sure.
got one. I was on cloud nine. I would go 4 for 22 in a week. And I was stoked because I was still profitable, but I was getting better. And then
Right.
year two, I switched because of lead flow. And so you understand, I work Miami, Dade County, Broward, so basically the same mortgage areas of Steve and probably 6,000 other agents that live in South Florida. Because of lead flow, I switched to telesales. So year two was 100% telesales, where I was doing, you know, live call transfers probably for the most part of it, and some dialing. And then what noticed, my persistency went down a little bit because I was like selling to people I never met in person, and over the phone was a little different. So then year three, I switched my business 100% to IULs and annuities, cold turkey. Like literally, there was 2 months in the end of my second year where I just didn't have any lead flow, cut off BPLs, cut off mortgage, cut off everything, and started fresh with 3 lead vendors for IULs and annuities. Took a hiatus for like maybe 60 days while I built things up, and Steve asked me, hey, dude, are you going out of business? I was like, no, I got cash flow. I'm okay. Like I've built up capital. I got cash flow. I'm all right. And then from then just started doing, you know, 30, 40, 50 families, whatever, monthly. Um, and then started building a team really based on that too, though. So I typically don't hire a lot of agents that are doing final expense or term. I'm not getting agents on that hamster wheel. We're getting agents directly into IULs from the jump, and it may be a slower burn, but I hire agents that are cash flow to ready and looking to just double it.
Jared, how long did it take you? How long did you have to be out in the field before you said, I can quit this government job and this is going to take care of my family?
It was probably like well, my leave of absence was over like in July, so it was like it was like 3 months. I got licensed in May, and then I hooked up, got together, got all my contracting, all this stuff in June. And then I was kind of playing both. Like I went back to my government job work in July, August, but I was gone by October the latest.
Wow. Frank,
Because and sorry, Mike, but truly the reality of it is 150 a grand a year. You know what it was? Like I was making 150 a year and my wife was making 100 grand a year, and we were living paycheck to paycheck.
absolutely.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
It's no money. Yeah, I agree with you. Frank, how many people come here and they think there's a secret? And this guy came in and was getting his teeth kicked in selling 2 out of 22. You know, and that's what it is in the beginning. Everyone wants the secret, but I think most people aren't willing to go through that BS.
Yeah. How how long did it take you? What's your closing ratio now?
Um,
Yeah,
I would probably say like 70%. If I have
70%.
if I have them on a Zoom, like it's a knockout, like for sure.
So went from 25%
Yeah.
to 7. And look, but I think that's the rub right there. Like if you're every time you're in an appointment, whether they buy or don't buy, it's equally as important if you have the right mindset, right? Because you take the ones that buy and go, all right, that went well. I'm going to keep doing that. You take the ones that don't buy and you go, wonder if there's anything I could have done differently to have them trust me enough to move. I mean, it's essentially that simple. what I want to ask you is when you switch from in the face to face in the home to virtual, do you carry that same mindset of, dude, I'm pushing through to get to just the ones that I that want to buy that are serious? Is it, I
Well,
mean, is it just a number game still for you today?
it was still a number game on the live transfers for sure. I was
Okay.
doing live I did the live transfers for that whole second year just to kind of have it as a cheat code so I didn't have to dial, being honest, because I wasn't a great dialer in the first place. So why not have people call me to tell me they want insurance? And then it was just it was a numbers game.
Right. And then
Now,
moving.
but then on downtime, I still get local leads. So what did I do? I still door knock. I still door knock now because I still have leads that flow into me locally. So like every other weekend, my wife is with my kids doing Girl Scout stuff. What do I do on Saturday? Well, I generally don't schedule appointments on Saturdays. I usually schedule Monday through Friday in the evening times. So on Saturdays, if I have nothing to do, I go door knock. It's not like a foreign thing. It's not, I mean, it was for a while. I think there was probably a year I didn't do any of it. Then I was like, man, I got all these leads coming in. I call them, they don't answer. Well, why don't I just show up? Okay, well, I just do that. Just keep it simple.
Out of every 10, how many door knocks do you have to make to write one app?
Usually I try to keep the expectations low, so I would
Sure.
say like 1 out of 15.
Okay. So knock on 15 doors and you
Yeah.
get one app.
Yeah.
And that
But
if you do that twice a month, you knock on 15 doors every time you go out.
yeah, I mean, I knocked on like 20 doors this past Saturday
Okay. So if you do that,
or Sunday, I
say
think.
two times a month,
I forget what day
you
it was. I
write
think
two more
yeah.
apps. What's your average AP per application?
Um, I honestly I have not a clue. I'm bad at tracking that, but like when I go out to the field, majority of it is final expense stuff that
Okay.
I'm door knocking, like Hall of Fame leads or ARIA leads or something like that. And those are mortgage based, but you got to think the demographic down here
Yeah.
is 60 plus with $1 million mortgage. You know, it's final expense. So a lot of, Eagle Premiers or Aetnas or whatever.
Still got to be a minimum of $100.
Yeah, they're like 70, $100, 120, just
So
kind
that's
of
an
all over
extra
the
two
place.
grand. I mean, that's that stuff people don't, I don't think look at enough. It's like you were so structured with what you were doing, which is not, it's a good thing for your personality. But I think you drew out a plan and you executed it. And I'm sure your plan didn't go exactly the way you had planned because that's never the way it works in this business. How'd you make adjustments and what was the biggest thing you overcame?
Yeah, I mean, going back to schedule is one thing I stick to a T. So like I shared Mike a picture of my calendar today. I keep track of my calendar like every single day. I do exactly what's on my calendar. Dial time, door knock time, everything. I think one of the biggest challenges, like for me in the beginning, was to not compare myself to others. I just
Mm,
had to compare myself to myself. So
mhm.
I knew what my bottom line number needed to be, and I was just focused on meeting that. As long as I paid my bills and my leads and I had a little bit of extra money for myself, I was okay. But going into like year 3 and doing IULs, I did literally want to make sure that I want to take a big vacation. So we
Right.
did, we spent a month in Paris, last November. Then this last July, May through August, we spent a big time in Europe. I was working the whole time, but I loved it over there. And I would go back over there in a heartbeat because I didn't miss anything. I was 6 hours ahead of East
Yeah.
Coast,
Yeah.
which was perfect. So the only thing that would like hinder me was sleep. So, I was having a Zoom. I forget one of these days I was closing out an annuity sometime in the middle of July, and my daughter walked in and she said, "Oh, what's for breakfast?" And it was because it was already morning. but I was doing a Zoom with a guy in California and it was late. It was like an 8 hour time difference, but it was 8 p.m. his time. It was already like 6 o'clock in the morning on where we were. And I said, "Oh my God, is it morning?" She was like, "Yeah, what are you gonna make?" And I was like, "Oh, I gotta finish this Zoom really quick and then I'll make you breakfast." But I've never had the opportunity in the past to take more than like a 1 week or a 2 week uninterrupted trip. But this, I didn't even mind working.
Yeah.
I honestly, I actually enjoyed it because we got to explore everything as much as we wanted, and then around 5 or 6 p.m. every day, I would zoom out or dial or work or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Can't be mad at that.
yeah, but I mean, look, I'll be honest, like it has it for me, and this is just my personal opinion. I tell my team the same thing. Um, like staying profitable is by far the most important thing. You have to know what you spend and how you're exhausting the lead and how you're working that lead. And in the beginning, since I wasn't good at dialing, I was also screaming from the rooftops everything that I'm doing, trying to get referral, trying to get any type of strummed up business for that
Mhm.
low-hanging fruit to convert to help me get better. And that helped with the profitability. But then when I started doing IULs, for the last year and a half, 2 years, that's when profitability just kind of skyrocketed too, because the persistency on all that business is sick. I mean, it's sick to be honest. It's like 90+% every single month. And like when nothing's charging back and your agents are selling, you may not be selling 10, 15 policies a week like we used to, but you're selling like 4 or 5 and nothing's coming back because the way we sell it too, it's just simple.
Feels good to get to that point, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I mean I still have like I'm probably like at 1.7 on annuities right now. I think it's like 1.689 something in annuities, and that's without really even focusing on it. But if I were to um focus on annuities and try to like really maybe even have annuity lead flow or actually focus on it, I only get them as they kind of come. But if I were to actually focus on it, would I, hit Hall of Fame? Maybe.
Well, you're only 400,000 away.
Yeah, but it's October. So
No, hey Dean, can you how long would it take you to write 400 grand?
Probably a day.
Probably
Rough
a
probably
point.
day.
tomorrow.
So I
So
mean,
just to give you an idea, I'll probably find about close to like 700,000 a month recently, and it's just by asking a lot of the right questions. So 400K, dude, you can do it in like 2 to 3 weeks.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
So
I had
then
a
you'd have
Bam
both,
Fam.
Tierre. You'd
Yeah, I
have the
had a
Hall of Fame life and a Hall of Fame annuity.
No, man. I'm a super simple, boring, consistent guy. I follow the schedule. My schedule, which is I'm not a 6 a.m. wake up gym guy. I'm like a 9:30, 10 o'clock guy. That's my jam. I like to have breakfast with my kids in the morning. I drop my kids off at school. I hit the gym 9:30 to about 11. I start my day 12 and go until whenever my day is done. Sometimes 10 at night, whatever. Because we're working all different time zones anyway. So why should I rush to get to my computer at 8 o'clock knowing I'm not going to do anything? Because I'm not going to dial and I'm not going to schedule a Zoom at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody before 10 or 11 anyway. It's just like the field. I would never schedule appointments before 10 o'clock in the morning because imagine driving an hour to get to somebody at 10 that says they forgot. Then I would be literally pissed off the entire day versus you did it to me at 12. Okay, I'll go grab lunch and I still have 9 hours of work. Same process. So I keep that same mindset. I'm going to start at 12 and just work till the night. Um, but it's like I think about, oh man, if I hit Hall of Fame, it would be cool. But I care more about my deposits and I care more about everything sticking in the books. And that's really where I try to tell my team too is focus on your productivity, focus on your profitability. Look
Thank
at
you.
your P&L, look at all your numbers, make sure you're not overspending, make sure you're not getting double charged for anything. Keep that where it's at. And when you're ready to like kind of blow up on the business and pour more in, just get more leads, pour more leads in that way. But you're gonna make it up if you work. And I'll be honest, I don't personally have a whole bunch of lead flow. I have enough lead flow to keep me busy from like 12 to about 6 o'clock, but I don't dial like a maniac anymore. I am focused more on building the team. I do sell, obviously,
Do
you
you have a
know.
dialer, Tierre, or you dial everything yourself?
No, I just click a button in the CRM. I just do it myself.
You've never had a dialer.
No,
Yeah.
no, even when I was working the field, I would print out those $3 little final expense postcards. I would drive up to Steve's office every Tuesday, every Monday and Thursday, just so I could use his paper cutter, get everything nice and pretty, little, compact size. I would call all of those one by one and then map them out on Road Warrior
So you
based
were
on
driving an hour
appointments.
and a half each way and you did it twice a week for 2 years?
Twice, twice a week for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And literally it was only me and Steve in the office. Go figure. And then if he said, "Hey, I can't make it to this one. He's in Pompano Beach. Can you go to this one in Homestead on the way home?" Yeah, sure, no problem. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Like I'll take it all day long.
Tierre's just, it makes it real simple. That's it. We have
It-
people come in here and they complain about things, but you came in here, you did it the right way, learned with final expense, and then moved into IULs. And people come in all the time and they want to start IULs but if they don't have money, they don't want to do what it takes to be able to get up to that point. And I think final expense is the easy way to do it. And you have to go through, I think everyone has to go through that grind in the beginning. And then if you choose to move on and do something else, you can. But I think it's a great starting point for
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, no, man, I agree. And I'll be honest, like our team, Selfless Financial, we're kind of backwards in that most of us know IULs, but probably half my team has no idea what final expense is going on, like where to pivot to and all of that. So I'm kind of working backwards a little bit in that regards to make sure people know how to pivot. Um, but as long as they have enough IUL business closing too, we're also not stressing it too much. Um,
Sean's call today, that's all it was about. That's the big talk in the company is IULs, just because of the profitability, the persistency, definitely that's why Sean's been talking about it a lot more. How is it that you get a brand new person that comes in here, never been in the business, start doing IULs? How do you do that?
Give them some basic videos to watch about IULs. And then we do a process real simple of pitch to Zoom. You pitch it to Zoom, and then I close it for you, give you all the commission, rinse and repeat. You'll learn on the spot as you get better with your pitch. It's super simple. And I'll be honest, all of last year, which was our major growth, I think of the team, we went from like 3 agents, me being one of them, right? To say 19 agents. All of those agents were basically the pitch to Zoom process where they would pitch them to Zoom. I would split off 1% to me, 99 to them, rinse and repeat. And I would do multiple applications for them for 1% just so they would learn. And people thought I was crazy, dude, you're giving up all your time. Well, now these guys are writing 30, 40 grand, 30, 40 families, sorry, every single month on cruise control. So what, I gave away 100 hours, cares? Like now, I have like at least 8 or 9 guys and gals on my team that will run through a wall. And now they're doing the exact same thing. Now I kind of don't do the 199 too much. I think it is kind of crazy. The split is a little lower, but it's it definitely still works. Silence of the Lambs.
It just makes it easy. It's just,
It's like I was joking with you, Mike. It's like there's like one is like work, and then 2 is like buy leads, right? And then 3 was don't compare yourself or complain about it. And then step 4 was go back to 1. It's really not that complicated. You do need to work. You know, you do need to work and be and make that certain amount of families to be profitable. And I know that that window, that number that you want to be at is around 30 families, right? There's a reason for that because you're going to have a certain amount of personal bills and lead spend. You still want to be able to put a little bit away, and then you still want to be able to maybe drop 3 to 5 grand on your agents at any drop of the dime. You know, so I do that also. You know, like if I have a new agent that's struggling, like, hey, let's double down. Maybe I get you some leads to get you going. If you don't make a sale in the first month, this wasn't for you. No harm, no foul. It's a tax write-off for me. We part ways, go do your thing. Or if agents don't believe in themselves enough, believe in yourself. Just put the money down. I'll help you close deals. I'll help you make money. Then you'll see that it's real. If I can't make it, if you put your credit card down and then you can't make your money, I'll give you the money. Because what's 1,500? Like half a policy? What's 2,000? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what it is. So that's how you kind of have to look at it, but you only get that way when you start issuing 100, 80, 90, and then you have extra cash flow and extra capital where it doesn't matter. And then you could have a bad month. Like my September might be 15. You know why? I didn't dial it all in August. I didn't really put a lot of business out in August. I had a lot of business issue in August, but I didn't put a lot of seeds in for September. Am I going to go out of business? No, because I had 200 families at 2 months prior. Like I'm okay.
Wow.
Pretty simple.
What do you say about people that are afraid to build a team?
Um, Afraid to build a team?
Yeah, there's a
Um,
guy that we work with, and he just tells me how scared he is of building. He's very frightened of it. Like, what do you say about that?
Maybe he's frightened of debt. Maybe.
Yeah,
Then,
he's scared of the debt. How does that not scare you, and how do you control it?
well, write good business, write sticky business, business that has 90% persistency plus. I would think that's a good place. Um, you're not alone on an island. Like anybody on my team, they know that their agents can also reach out to me. So they shouldn't have to feel the brunt of training and growing and molding that person and all that. Use me instead, right? But your personal production shouldn't take a slip necessarily when you're building your team.
Yeah.
Um, it just shouldn't. It may take a little dip, but not like it shouldn't like fall off their radar completely. Um,
What would you say about someone who does, you know, 50, 60 a month, and they've got, three, four, five, six dialers? Do you feel like something like that is necessary?
if they're not good at dialing, like to each his own, like if they're not good at dialing and they're still profitable, go
Not
for it.
profitable.
Oh, not profitable. Cut the extra weight. Like the only bills I have are my home bills and leads. I don't have any, well, I have a couple admins, but they take care of like my admin that does my social media, and then I have an admin that takes care of all like calling carriers, contracts, like
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff like that. But there's no other overhead costs, for me. But if you're not profitable, you have to cut off the dead weight.
I'm gonna open it up, see if anyone else has questions. Frank, you have any other questions, or anyone else?
I mean, that's just as simple as I've heard it. So no, don't really have any questions.
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest, I'm not Hall of Fame. Like, I'll share with this too. The same is like my upline is Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, right? All he and I have come to the agreement. He's like, "Are you profitable?" Yes. Are is your bank account looking great? Yes. Your team is growing. Yes. We're what 347 last month and of his 680. So we're doing just fine. He's just, put more in the hopper, more in the pipeline. Um, yeah.
Jamie, what do you got any questions for Tier?
No, I'm kind of like y'all. You know, I think it's like, you know, it's so simple. I mean, you just need to do whatever it takes to make sure you are profitable.
Yeah.
And quit doing the things that don't make you profitable. And that could be anything. That could be the dialers that you just said, or that could be maybe you're spending, or that could be, you know, maybe you're not writing enough business, or maybe you quit too soon, or maybe you're not grinding on the weekends. I mean, it could be tons of different things, but quit doing the things that do not make you profitable. And if you're not even sure, then you need to get with someone who can help you remain profitable and figure out how to get you profitable, and do more of the things that make you profitable, period. And that usually comes with more work, period.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, this guy's saying he's willing to work 100 hours a week if that's what it took to close 2 deals. I mean, that's
He just did whatever it took. I mean, some people just aren't willing to do whatever it takes. That's fallen off somehow. It got lost in translation somewhere along the lines. But yeah, do
Because
whatever it takes.
truth of it too is, what was plan B? There was
Yeah.
none. There was
Right.
none. I left a cushy, comfortable space, and I couldn't find 150 grand a year in Miami. It doesn't exist in a salary job. So I was like, you know what? I gotta make this work. It doesn't matter how much I need to work. I need to get better at this. And if I could just be a quarter of what my upline is, I'd be okay. And honestly, that's my baseline, is I say, okay, a quarter of upline, I'm good. If I do a little more than a quarter, extra. But I know what my baseline is. I know what I need to make, and just work as hard as I can to get there.
You know what the other thing too is, Frank, have you ever talked to anyone they call and they go, what's the average that people make, or what's the lowest guy make? Where Tierre said, what's the top guy make, right? I talk to a lot of people and they go, what's like the average people make? I want to kind of I go, what does that mean? Like, why are you even going to compare yourself to those people? So I think that has a lot to do with it too. He immediately said, all right, what's top guy doing? That's where I want to be, you know?
Yeah,
For sure.
because total mindset was, I have no sales experience. I've never worked in sales. I've never worked, and I'll like, my first week in the field was a disaster. I had like four
Everyone's
appointments.
is.
4 appointments. One was in Miami. One was leads that I got in Naples. I drove across Allergate Alley, no showed. I door knocked everything in that area. Then I drove to St. Pete, not St. Pete. It was like on the East Coast. And then I sold a policy. It was like an Americo Eagle Premier, still on the books now, a little less than 200 a month premium. Then the lady called me from Naples saying oh, hey, can you come back? It was already
Yeah.
like 10 o'clock at night. I was like, yeah, I'll be there by 11:30. I get
Oh,
there by 11:30. She's like, oh, can we do this tomorrow?
oh my
I
God.
put probably 900 miles on my car in like one day. But when I got home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, my wife says, hey, how'd you do? I said, I sold one. She's like, congratulations. Let's go out to dinner. I said, no, I don't have the money yet because the guy doesn't pay until tomorrow. And then it'll drop to my account, but let's not spend anything. Let me just keep working this. But I went 1 for 7 that day. And then the next day went back to Naples and sold like 2 to that lady. And then she referred me to her friend next door, sold a policy there, and then had nothing else. So I drove back to Miami and just door knocked every lead that I had.
Think it's your just your mindset and your wife, because most people that drove 900 miles, got home at midnight or 1 o'clock and sold one, would call the next day and talk about how terrible they did, where you and your wife kind of celebrated and took it as success. And
Yeah,
I think when you have that kind of mindset, I just don't think you can lose.
because that one policy was, okay, one of the 8 that I need to sell in the month to do the same that my government job was saying to do, like based on the income. But then I started, when I was in the field and I got better on the phones. I got better with my process. I got better at closing, all of that. I was running, 10, 13 appointments in a day and closing 6, 7, 8 in a day. But then it's like, how then do you stay motivated to keep doing it? Well, I just did it because it was my schedule. I worked Monday. I drove an hour and a half to the office Monday, dialed, worked Tuesday, Wednesday, did the same thing Thursday, and went to the field on Friday. Honestly, I never worked really that much on Saturdays because I didn't like being stood up or the negative vibe on a weekend. So I tried to really not work the weekends. That was like my time and space to not take any rejection, from other people. From my wife and kids, no problem. But, from other people out in the field, like, no, I couldn't deal with that. It was too much. So I packed everything into Monday through Friday. And
Makes sense to me.
it's the same thing now though. I mean, like there's
Jesse,
times
imagine having Tierre as a running buddy versus your old running buddy. Be a much better conversation.
Yeah, it's just even now there's times like I can see myself where I need to refocus and dial more. And it happened today. I said, you know what? I need to dial more. I came back from the gym. It was like 12 o'clock. I said, let me dial through. I had 2 no-shows. And then right before we got on this call, I closed a 92,000 F&G annuity. And then I did a BAM fam for Friday. It's like probably 1.2 million.
There's
Bro,
your
so you're gonna hit-
400,000.
Yeah, there's
Hall
your
of
400.
Fame, baby.
We don't know. But if I didn't dial, if I didn't call, then this guy no showed me 3 or 4 times, and then he just happened to pick up this time.
That's
But
1.2 million right there, right?
something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll count
All
it
right.
when it counts.
It's amazing what happens when you're just persistent and just are that hungry. I love what this business can do for people like that are in that mindset.
Dean, what do you think about what Tierre's doing? I know you're not a big telesales guy, but I
I
mean,
think it's a great thing. I mean, I got motivated to implement the Europe thing because we love to travel to Europe and we like to stay there for like at least a couple of weeks. And I got to start perfecting. It's not like I suck at telesales. I'm ADHD, man. I got to be on the go. I can't sit still. Like
Oh
that's my
man,
problem.
you get a good setup, you get a nice raising desk, you buy a $500 chair, it's comfortable, you get nice water bottles like Stanley F&G water bottles. Like you'll be good, man. You just gotta get a comfortable chair. You get a vibrating machine thing under the desk to vibrate your legs from time to time so you're not sitting there.
I can't do that, bro. I'm high strung on energy, man. I
Hey,
cannot do that.
get yourself a treadmill and a raising desk, and you can walk your ass off all day long. I've seen
But
them.
I think, Mike, to answer your question, what he's doing is really like the full package of what this company has to offer and this industry in general, which how much it's advanced. I mean, look at what he's like overcome to get to where he's at. And he said himself proudly, hey, I'm not Hall of Fame, but I'm profitable. And to me, that speaks more volume than just a red jacket, right? The red jacket's cool. It's a recognition for yourself, but what you're doing is teaching us, hey, you don't have to kill yourself to make money in this business. You can just go ahead and do it and be profitable and love the business at the same time. So I love your message tonight, man. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, man. And if you get to Europe, like I'll share a little bit of the itinerary. We spent like 5 weeks in Italy, and then 3 weeks in Spain, and then 3 weeks in Greece, and a week on a cruise. The week on the cruise was hard because the Wi-Fi was crap. Like I was telling everybody I was at a convention, so I couldn't work that week.
At least they believed you. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
it's like I'm so sorry I'm at a convention this week. Can we reschedule for next week? But I wasn't rescheduling for calls. I was rescheduling for Zooms.
Mm.
So I was
Yeah.
skipping that, but I was doing those Zooms basically, those schedules by text.
we're over time now. One thing, Tierre, what can you do? There's a lot of people on this call that are brand new that aren't having the success you had. What piece of advice could you give to those people that really haven't made that breakthrough yet in their business and making the kind of money that they need to make to be able to support their family? What could you provide with them to be able to do that?
Yeah, I
Any
mean,
advice?
like early on, you gotta obviously scream from the rooftops, have leads. I joined, you know, and I'm not a big fan of them, but I joined those business networking thingies, business BNI, whatever. I just did that to connect. And I said, okay, if I'm part of a BNI, a business networking thing, which we met on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock in the morning by Zoom. Sometimes it was in person, which was like madness. I couldn't understand it. But there was like $1,000 to join, and then I got a couple lay down referral business. So I got practice. I also got a good practice of like sharing what I did, my elevator pitch, you
Mm.
know, of kind of what I did. So it helped me when I reached out by text and all that stuff. But you basically just have to kind of, you have to scream from the rooftops to everybody you know and where you know it, you know, on social media and everything like that of what you're doing and how you're doing, because all you need is repetition. So when I started IULs, I don't have a big social network. I don't have a big amount of friends that I could sell to or anything like that. So I over invested in leads and poured it in and said, okay, if I spend, which I did my first month on IULs, spent 10 grand in IUL leads. And I said, okay, I gotta make 10 grand. First month, 12 grand. So I paid my bills and I had a little extra and I was okay. Next month, you know, 40 families, 50 families. Then it was off to the races. Then I didn't look back. And then I cut down my lead spend because I was dialing like crazy. I didn't need all that. But you have to kind of like, you have to give it 1,000%.
Yeah. I like it,
There you
Mike.
go again, where most people, they would spend 10 and make 12 and then consider it a complete wash. And we would hear about how terrible the business is, where you took it and said, I made my money back, and you kept moving. Where a lot of people, they stop at that point and they think everything was a failure. Their entire world is falling. I mean, I think it's that positive mindset is why you are where you are. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Anything else, Frank?
No, man, this was great. Thank you, Tierre.
Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Tierre. I see you guys have all been plugging more and more into what we're doing. We love it. The more people, the merrier in this entire group. You know, we're all
Yeah.
helping, working with each other and helping each other out. So appreciate you guys being aboard, man.